Welcome back. It's 2021, and we're back to a new year and a new episode of Tech Talk.
I'm Roi for the tech.
And I'm Earl for the talk.
Okay, Earl, it's been over a month since we've last
Released a-
released the
yeah.
the episode 9, and I have to say it's really great to be back.
Yeah, it's
The
great to be
recording.
back after like a month-long hiatus. Now we can actually get back to reviewing tech, and as promised to our viewers, we'll be doing a better job at it this time.
Yeah, new year, new us. You know that every the adage every year, like going to the gym, promising to go to the gym and then not doing it. But we promise that would actually hold our promise.
Yep. Everyone wants to keep their New Year's resolutions like almost every year, but again, we have to remember to be like realistic and like because the thing about New Year resolutions is you have to be consistent with them. Like you can promise one thing, but the thing is if you only do it like once or twice, it won't really take effect. That's why consistency is key. So if you're gonna make a New Year's resolution for all you listeners out there, just make sure these are resolutions you can keep. For example, like what I decided to do, like I said I would cut back on sugar. Like when I mean by cut back, I would like for example instead of drinking soda with like my pizza, I would drink water. I mean it's not as healthy, but hey, at least there's less sugar in my system, right, Roy? Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah. I don't have any New Year's resolution. I mean, I didn't make any.
Oh, that's perfectly fine, Roy. New Year resolutions are more on things that you look back at and see what you could have done better for like the past year. I mean, it's pretty like healthy for you to usually do them, but even if you don't, that means you shouldn't feel pressured like to do them even if like you had nothing planned because again, New Year's resolutions are optional because most of us really don't need to change much. All right,
Yeah.
so
So before we begin, I'd just like to say that maybe the New Year's resolution that I will make for myself is just improve on making Tech Talk episodes.
you can say that again. And with the new year, of course, comes new tech to review. Lots to do and see here, partner.
Partner. Okay. Let's get right into it.
Alright, enough talk. Let's get right into the banter section. Of course, we can't start off without the banter section, am I right, Roy? Alright. So,
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about the new types of tech for 2021. Well, the predictions and expectations we have for them. So, with the new folding screen technology, which of course we're gonna be like talking about more on later, I'm expecting to see a lot more folding screens in the near future, especially with Apple. I wonder what those just evil geniuses are planning behind the curtain. Are they planning to
mean-
make?
I mean, it's been 2 years since we've seen the first release of a folding phone, commercial wide release of a folding phone. So,
It's been that long? Wow.
yeah,
I mean,
2 years.
wow, it's been that long already. But hey, the good thing about folding phones, like folding screens, is that not only are they a novelty, but I want to see more of them. Hopefully, this 2021 will be getting like a lot more folding screens, and this time the ones that are actually actually a lot easier to use and with less problems because there's always been problems with screens with phones with folding screens because not a lot of them usually work as intended or have some sort of problem that's a deal breaker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I do have a good news for you because those types of problems you've been talking about have been largely resolved last year, 2020. So right now for 2021, I would now expect that they would increment on these further, so we'd see more substantial improvements.
Yep. It's always a good thing to see a lot more improvements in our technology, but you know what I'm looking forward to? Everything's gonna be folding in 2021, man. Like, there's gonna be folding laptops, which even though they already normally folding electric fans, now that you can fold them in half, there's gonna be a lot more folding stuff. All right, so, but more on that later. I think what I'm excited for 2021 is finally the restock of the PS5s and Xbox Series X's, even though a lot more people are going to go for the PS5 realistically. And there's like gonna
Yeah,
be
wasn't there another pre-order right now?
yeah. For all of those who want the PS5, Data Blitz is doing a pre-order rush bonus this time. They're restocking on PS5s and Xbox Series X's, so if you want to get your hands on it, I suggest you go to their Facebook group and just sign up and get ready and pre-order as fast as you can because I'm pretty sure by now the websites are gonna crash.
Yeah, I mean, and by the time this episode is actually released, everyone will be angry because they didn't get theirs.
Yep, they're gonna be out of
Ah.
stock again. Sadly, this is just the sad part of the PS5s. There's always some scalper out there, like some scummy scalper that's like, I'm gonna buy them all and leave none for nobody. Haha.
Haha.
All right, so moving on. I guess what I'm excited for 2021 in terms of tech is probably I want to see what else they can come up with, especially in the line of mobile phones. And you know me, Roy. You know, I'm somewhat of a PC junkie. I like keeping up with the latest parts. So I'm curious what type of like improvements they're gonna make with our computers, especially like with the processor and graphics card department. Because again, technology is always like innovating and finding new ways to one up each other. Like these companies are always looking for new ways to one up each other.
So what you want to see, since you're essentially talking to me, since I like phones, is that mobile processors in desktop environments. Is that what you mean?
Yes. I think there's gonna be a lot more like mobile computers. Like I know we already have that, and they're called laptops and stuff. But I have a feeling they're gonna get even smaller, or way thinner and slicker, and way easier to handle. And honestly, that excites me a lot because imagine being able to just play on what essentially looks like a tiny MacBook, but it has like the power of a 3080. Like that's something I'm looking forward to, and I want to see in the future because companies are slowly but surely making that a thing.
So basically, ARM.
Yes.
All right. So my
Ar-
expectation for it now is that since Apple made the final push into going fully ARM for their laptops. Wait, did they go full?
I guess you can say they're
Mostly
armed
full.
and ready,
Yeah.
Roy.
They're armed and oh my god.
Of
Like,
course,
what I'm
it's the new
saying-
year.
What I'm just saying is that never change it. What I'm saying is that their really popular MacBook line, like
Yeah,
the base model, since the base model is always popular, they went all in on ARM. And
Also, now they're slowly like replacing like the older models with ARM processors. Or do you
yes,
think that's
so basically they're slowly replacing the Intel based with ARM based.
Yep. Sadly, Intel is a pretty solid there's a pretty solid like company if you want to look for good top of the line processors, but they've been overtaken, man. Like there are just better options out there, especially when it comes to price to performance. So I can really see why Apple would make the switch to basically Ryzen or like ARM technologies.
Yeah, it's not just Apple now. Microsoft is also joining the race, so
Yep. So it's
Yeah.
a huge.
it's
So I
all
guess
the future.
so, Roy. You can say that it's an arms race.
Oh my god. Um,
All
I'll
right.
just let that slide for now.
All right, so let's move on to the tech section, the real meat and bones of this operation here. Everyone knows this. All right, so as stated before, what we're going to be discussing today is quirky gadgets, novelty phones, novelty computers, pretty much anything that's out of the ordinary. And with that, we're going to
Let's get this straight. When we mean by quirky phones, we mean quirky here in the Philippines, because in the US and in Europe, these types of phones are slowly but surely becoming mainstream. So
Yep.
here, it's still practically non-existent. So you can
Because
say
they're
that,
kind of harder to get here aside from like compared to other countries. So for us it's quirky. I mean, even though those people like abroad already have them. So we're gonna talk about, again, as stated before, folding phones and even a folding laptop. And I don't mean like the keyboard folding in and of itself.
Just
I
say
mean,
folding screen laptop. Where
yeah, that's a lot easier. Like, okay, folding screen laptop. So let's first start with the phones. First on our lineup is, of course, everyone's GOAT, the Samsung Z Flip. All right, I had the pleasure of going to Mega Mall, despite what's happening outside, and was able to actually handle a Samsung Z Flip. And I can tell you this much: it's ergonomic, it's compact, and it's easy to handle. Like this thing is a dream. It reminds me back when I was a kid, and like we used to like have those old style flip phones that you would have like you would use and like keep in your pocket. It reminds me of that.
yes, T9 keyboards.
Yep, except this time it's not just folding, but it's all screen. Like it's essentially a folding piece of glass in your hand, which I really like.
Ultra thin glass, also known as essentially plastic.
Yep. The performance is great. Like I can just like if you fold the screen like halfway through, you'll be able to use something called the dual screen feature, which of course I did not read at the concession stand. Wink, wink. All right, but more or less, the dual screen feature makes it so that on one end of the screen you could be like watching a YouTube video, and on the other end you can be like texting your mate or something. Or if you set it up vertically, you can pretend like it's a tiny laptop for one hand and just type on the keyboard while you're like doing your taxes or something. I don't know why you do taxes on the phone, but hey, you can do that now.
I mean, if you're on the go, I'd see that type of use case. So yeah. Oh wait, you almost forgot something.
Yes.
The the camera feature of it, like you fold it halfway so it looks like a laptop, and then it's essentially a viewfinder.
You know, speaking all about the Samsung Z Flip reminds me of something, Roy. Remember when, like, I don't remember which iPhone it was, but remember back then where people were bending their iPhones because
The
it was a
iPhone
thing?
6 and 6 Plus.
Yeah, the 6 and 6 Plus because it used like an aluminum chassis, so it was a lot easier to bend. And people were actually bending them to the point where it was actually just breaking the screen. But hey, with this one, unless you like fold it the other way, there's no way you're breaking this one.
Yeah, phones are still using aluminum today. It's more of they didn't put reinforcements on specific weak points.
No, Roy. The problem isn't really the aluminum. It's just that the way the people handled these phones, like they were bending it more than the manufacturer intended. Like yes, they could bend, but they were bending it until the screen broke. You know what I mean? Like they were trying.
At that point, it's essentially on them since they're intentionally doing it.
Exactly, dude. So with the Samsung Z Flip, I guess you can say they baby-proofed it. They baby-proofed it. So even though you fold it like all the way one way, it's not going to break. But please don't bend it the other way. Even the concession stand says, please do not bend the phone the other way.
Please, because you're going to pay 65,990 pesos.
Yep, and it's not going to be fun for you or your bank account.
Yeah.
Alright, now we're gonna talk about the big dog. Basically, this phone was released, I think, 2 years ago, a year ago. Like you said, Roy, like these phones were around for like 2 years already. But we're gonna talk about.
Before you say that, what is the name? Because I have like some list of phones and their specs here.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get to that actually. It's called the Z Fold, the first one. I mean,
The Z Fold. I actually have that on my screen right now.
Yeah, the Z Fold, like the first one that Samsung released, well, it was a good idea on paper. The idea was attractive and people were excited for it, but sadly when the phone released, the cons sort of outweighed the pros because there was a boatload of problems that came with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of them, well, being the deal breaker that sort of ruined people's expectations was that the fact that there was a small gap in the center of the screen that if it filled with dust would break the phone. Like that was just a fatal manufacturing error on like Samsung's part because remember that our pockets usually fill with lint, and if you put your phone like your Z Fold in your pocket by mistake and you didn't clean your pockets or hindi mo nilabay yung pantalon mo, there was a good chance you would break your phone on accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another thing.
And also the screen was a problem.
Yep. The screen also had a couple problems, if I remember. But Roy, would you tell me more about the problems with the screen, please?
Well, if we're talking about the first release and not the subsequent release, is that there is a significant gap between the screen and the chassis of it. So you would think that there was a screen protector there.
Oh, so more or less it would feel clunky or like thicker, even and like than it needed to be, and it would feel a little awkward. Yeah, I can
But sometimes you'd see, sometimes it would seem that this installed screen protector was compromising the quality, so people would start to peel it off, but they didn't know that that protector is actually vital to the screen. So if you peeled it, you're basically destroying the screen.
So more or less, it's the same thing as peeling the glass off of your phone.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, but the problem, I'm guessing, I think I know more about that problem because the problem with the screen, like the pre-built screen protector, was that it was making the phone less sensitive to your touch, like less receptive. So like it felt a little more awkward. And you had to put more pressure on your phone, just really putting pressure on your phone to just get it to respond. And usually I don't like that with like my touch screens and stuff.
Yeah. Wait. What do you call that type of touch screen before?
Which one?
There's capacitive and there's another one.
Sadly, I don't know about that. I only know about like I think I know about passive a little bit, but I don't think I know about the
It's
other types.
resistive. It's resistive.
Ah, okay. So what's the difference between the two?
Resistive, you need the stylus.
Ah, I see. No wonder. Oh, you need a yeah because a stylus has a pointy edge, and since it's more like resistant, like you gotta have a more pointier edge for it to respond. But the biggest problem with the Z Fold wasn't just that it could break, but rather the software problems and bugs that came with it. Because you know how it has this tiny screen in like the front, so that you could see your notifications like any normal phone.
It's
Even
actually a small. It's actually just a small version of the bigger screen inside. It's a
Yep.
fully fledged screen. It's not like the Razer,
Yep.
where it's basically just a light version.
Yep. The problem with it is that sometimes the software would bug. So even if you opened like the phone, the small screen, like the pre-built screen, would still be lit up, and the interior screen itself wouldn't light up. And it also came with now this Roy. I'm pretty sure this would probably like ask you like why would Samsung like you would just ask yourself like okay. Why would I buy this phone if it had this problem? Sometimes this is a real problem, by the way, is that while you were scrolling like through apps and stuff, the screen would suddenly freeze and it would show you a distorted like image on the screen. Like on the screen would distort and it would be hard for you to see anything. Think, okay, do you know those glitch effects that you would usually find when like for example like your game breaks or a video doesn't render properly? Yeah,
I
that's
know.
that
I
that
know
there's a
those
chance.
things.
Yep, there's a chance of that happening while you're scrolling through apps too fast. That's a thing that can happen. And mind you, this wasn't like a 1 or 2 minute thing that you had to do. Aside from having to close and reopen the screen, sometimes the phone would just shut off entirely, which was a huge problem, especially with how much it cost like when it first released.
$1,800.
Yep. Yeah, and if you're gonna be paying this much, you'd expect a quality phone, but sadly, the Z1 Fold at launch, like, while yes, it had a lot of quirks, yes, it offered something new and different. Different doesn't usually always mean good. And in my case, again, this is just our opinion, alright? The actual Z1 Fold, when it first released, was just...
It's Galaxy Fold, actually.
Yeah, the Galaxy Fold. Like, the first time it released was just a boatload of issues that you had to fix. And, like...
You could
they
say
could-
it's a train wreck.
It was a train wreck. But with just like in anime, with every redemption arc comes a second season, and in the second season we got the Z Fold 2. Isn't that right, Roy?
Yeah.
And with the Z Fold 2, there came a lot of bug fixes, a lot of improvements, and this time you got this thing. I don't know how the heck Samsung managed to do it, but it was waterproof. They made it waterproof. I have no idea how they did it, but they did.
Did they?
What?
Wait, did they? I know that it still isn't. Wait.
Well, it probably isn't waterproof. I mean, that's probably a huge stretch. It's probably water resistant, is what they mean. I guess to a certain degree, but All right.
Oh no, it's not. It's just a waterproof coating. It doesn't even have an IP rating.
Oh, so it's just a waterproof coating. All right. Well, when I did my research, that's one of the things that it told me about the Z Fold 2. Guess I should recheck my sources. Wink,
No,
wink.
it's basically just saying. You know those really cheap phones?
Yeah.
Those really cheap Redmi phones
Yeah.
from Xiaomi. They also have waterproof coating, but that doesn't mean that the entire phone itself is
All right.
water resistant.
So basically, common sense and don't dunk your phone in water. More or less.
Yes. I mean, it still has exposed parts. Like,
But bro, just pour it down center to get immediate water cooling.
it's basically those every other laptops you have, and then just pouring water all over it, and then still expecting it to run
Yep.
while it's still on.
All right, so talking about more on the Z Fold 2, there's a lot of improvements on this one. For one, they fixed a lot of the software side issues, like for example, the main screen in the front not sometimes responding when you open the phone. And also, it fixed a lot of like the ergonomic issues it used to have with it. Remember the
Yeah.
chassis you said, Roy, like how far apart the screen sort of felt because of the pre-built like actual screen protector? Well, in the Z Fold 2, if what I the tech review I watched actually told that they actually decided to go against that, and like they now the screen is just as plain as ever. Like it's just a normal like I guess flexible glass screen that doesn't have the protector anymore. So that means you can just put in your own screen protector.
Yeah. And plus the overall design and the screens were improved. Like for the front, when you fold it, it was a front screen, right? They made it bigger.
Yep, they
Now
made it
for
all.
Yeah, they made it bigger.
Yep, they also made it a lot bigger. And like one of the things I liked about it is it now feels better to hold in one hand. You know, it feels like heaven for your hand. But again, sometimes though it feels a little awkward because when you open the screen like all the way, like not even halfway through, you have to use two hands to just hold it because it feels like a mini tablet.
Well, it essentially is. I mean, for some people, it essentially replaces their tablet. So
Yep. So now you can play Fortnite or Arknights on your phone with big screen.
big screen.
But you know, just be careful. Don't when you're scrolling through Facebook, you know, some of the posts there, you might run into something dangerous. And remember, you have a big screen, so everyone's gonna see that if you're on like the UV or the bus or something.
But then again, having that kind of phone, the retail price for the Z Fold 2 in the Philippines is 109,990. So I don't think you would actually put that out
So
in
so
the
in
public
other
places.
yep. So in other words, you have to be rich or you have to be Atanian. I'm just kidding. Okay, to afford it.
Not really. I mean, you could buy it at a plan. So it's no different than just buying the latest Galaxy S21 Ultra, the latest iPhone 12 Pro Max. Whoopsie.
Bless you, Roy. All right, but still though, like that's still a lot of money, even if you are on a plan. Don't you think like that's a huge stretch? But hey, that's what you're paying for the price. Hey, you're paying the price for the novelty and the performance. And plus, if you get bored, you can pretend like your phone screen's a little puppet. You know that's what you can do with the phone screen if you get a little bored.
Or act like your folding phone is a book, so you can like flip it.
Or you know, you could pretend like it's a little puppet. You know those things that you do with your hand, where you open and close your hand, pretending it's a puppet. You can do that with your phone now. So if you ever get bored, you can just do that.
Yeah, until the mechanism fails,
Yep.
whichever comes first.
Just just a reminder that we are not responsible for any damages done to your folding screens because you made it, because you used it as an impromptu puppet. It is not our fault.
We are not liable for any damages to your phone. Thank you.
All right, and now comes. All right, so moving on from Samsung, it's time we moved on to Lenovo's new product. Well, their new quote unquote tablet laptop hybrid, and it's called, you know, I'm pretty sure you know this one, Roy, the X1 Fold.
It's Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Fold.
Yep. So the good thing about the Lenovo X1 Fold is for the fact that it's a tablet, but it folds. Oh.
Oh, oh.
So you know it's top of the line quality because it folds. Okay, all right. In all seriousness, though, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm not sure how how authentic this information is, but the X1 Fold is said to use a sort of ARM processor as well that makes it so that it has good performance. So even like you can render videos on it when it's on laptop mode, and also like do a whole lot of other things, like use even Photoshop on it, and like use Photoshop on it and render a bunch of heavy things without much issue. Like this is something like the X1 Fold can offer you. And also, it has this magnetic keyboard attachment, so when you fold the screen halfway, like you're making it stand in a sort of an
Yeah,
L
you
shape.
can make it like a regular laptop.
But this time,
Kinda.
yeah, you can make it kind of like a regular laptop, but the good thing about it is it's a lot more powerful than your standard laptop, despite folding. Alright? I can just picture the little motherboard in there folding in half, don't you, Roy?
Yeah. So wait, I'm kinda taking a look at the Lenovo website right now. It says that the X1 Fold is also offered with i5s.
Wonderful. So that means that you're getting
Wait,
more.
it is an i5 only, so it's not an ARM processor.
Oh, all right. So that means like, all right. So I guess it is an i5. All right, but still though, like it can still with the performance it offers. I would suggest that if you're looking for a new laptop and you don't, money's no object, you can go ahead and get the X1 Fold because it offers this sort of stability that you could always rely on. And
I mean,
plus, you can
it's a
game.
ThinkPad. It's a ThinkPad.
Yeah.
If ThinkPads are your thing, you're bound to buy this.
Yep, and the good thing about the X1 Fold is that aside from is that again, it's also a tablet. It's not exactly like it's not just a laptop hybrid, it's also a tablet. So you can just sort of open and also it has this nice thing called book mode. And, book mode is essentially what it sounds like. It turns into a like an e-book reader, except it feels like you're holding a traditional book because of how big the thing is. I would even go as far as to say like like the way it's sized, I would say that it almost feels like it's the same height and width of like a Harry Potter novel. Like that's how big the thing is. So go ahead and like enjoy that. If you're one to like enjoy traditional book reading because that's what it offers as well.
Yeah. I think it's more like a dictionary size
Yep.
laptop.
Actually, that's a better comparison. Yeah, it's like a dictionary-sized hybrid.
Well,
But sadly,
what else
Roy,
do you want to say?
yeah, but sadly, the bad thing about the X1 Fold is, even with with its pros, it also comes with a lot of drawbacks. With one is that it has poor heating circulation, so that means the thing will get really hot in your hand, and I mean really hot. So be careful when handling this thing because,
Yeah,
trust
it's the
me,
i5, isn't it?
yes,
It
it's
would have
putting
actually been solved. It would have actually been solved if it actually used an ARM processor.
Yep, and another issue with this thing is that it is loud. I am saying it is really loud because since there's a lot of fans cooling that little processor, taking all of that just pressure, it's not exactly gonna be quiet, and it's gonna sound like you're holding a mini jet in like your hand. So just keep that in mind. It's not exactly quiet.
And I also noted their software issues. It's not really Lenovo's fault. It has to do with Windows.
Yeah, Windows also comes with problems since
Because since it's not technically a tablet, so Windows 10's tablet mode doesn't come in immediately. Have to manually do it sometimes.
So yeah, you have to
Inputs
just
are finicky, like those things.
inputs are finicky. There's a lot of things you have to do manually because there's a lot of features that don't work as intended. But yeah, that's what you get, and that's the price you pay for a novelty, baby.
I mean, it will improve over time, but
Yep.
As of now, if you want to try these products out, knowing of the pros and cons, go ahead.
Yep.
Because all we're doing is improving these types of products.
All right, now we're gonna talk about. All right, Roy. Now we're gonna talk about another type of phone by LG.
A swivel phone?
Yep, it's a swivel phone. I'm talking about the LG Wing.
Woo.
Alright, so a good thing about so swivel phones are more or less as the name entails, instead of folding like we were talking about like these just past couple minutes, we're gonna talk about swivel phones because instead of folding these things, there are two big screens that just swivel on an axis like right next to each other, and like they just sort of swing side to side, like one screen swings on top of the one below it, and I think that's pretty cool, man.
It's kind of a homage to the... Wait, was it the LG VX 9400?
I'm not really sure, man.
I think it is. If you've seen Iron Man 1,
Yes.
the type of phone that Tony Stark used there is kind of the same thing as the LG Wing.
Oh yeah, it's a swivel.
It's also a swivel phone, except it's using a T9 keyboard, so it's... Think of it like a flip phone, but it swivels.
Yep, wonderful. And a good thing about the LG Wing, since you have two big screens to work with, on the screen on top, since it swivels horizontally, so that you still have like all this space down below on the vertical screen to do whatever business you want. It's good for multitasking, And aside from that, it also offers you like a lot more space to work with whatever you want or with whatever app you want to use, which is again a huge pro. Because a lot of people don't like tiny displays. You know, if you're like me, you want to have as much space to work with as possible.
Yeah, looking at the price right now, it's $9.99 when released. I think it's still $9.99 right now.
Yeah, but hey, the LG Wing offers some pretty good performance. The one downside that I know of with it is that, yeah, like the little axis that it sort of rotates on. There's a huge chance that'll break if you swing it way too hard. Like we're talking, you whip it, like you whip it way too fast. That there's a chance that'll break. It's a little finicky with that.
Well, I think that's why they have magnets on it. So when you swivel it, it goes slow, and then it latches into place.
Yep.
I think
And
that's the
also-
reason why they have that in.
Also, there's a chance that the software might glitch if you swivel it. Like it would like every like when you swivel it. Like remember that the software has to adjust to like no okay. So he swiveled the phone in this direction, but sometimes even if you don't swivel the phone, it thinks that you still have it like you still
On vertical mode.
Yeah, on vertical mode. It still thinks you have it on vertical mode. So again, you just have to re-swivel it and you're good.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, but unlike the others, you could technically still buy it right now.
Yeah, you technically can. Like, and I say, more power to you. Go ahead, buy it. It's a new experience, and you know what they say: change is good, unless it's the bad kind. Hey, technically, I'm right about that.
Technically.
All right. So, Roy,
Yeah,
this
what is
time,
it?
gusto ko mag-Tagalog ka, right? I want you to pretend
Sige.
I'm like a 90-year-old. Okay, kunyari matanda ako, kunyari 80 years old ako, okay? Kasi for our next phone, alam mo ba ito, iho?
Hindi ko po alam yan, iho.
Ang
Anong
sagot mo
iyan?
ang sagot mo dapat diyan, iho ay opo.
Oh
Get
my
it?
God, Earl, stop!
Hey, it's
Hindi
the
yan
new year,
maganda. Hindi yan maganda.
Hey man, we like for like the past 20 minutes we've been talking about like folding phones and stuff. You gotta have a little fun every once in a while, even though the whole thing's fun anyway.
When we mean Oppo, we mean rollable phones.
Yep, the rolling screen. And when we mean by rolling screen, no, the whole phone doesn't roll up into a ball, sadly. But you know that might become a thing later on. The Oppo X is actually this type of pull type screen where you pull the screen out. Am I right, Roy?
Yeah, but when you mean by pull, it's actually motorized. You don't
Yeah.
physically pull it.
Yeah, it's sort of like it just rolls like down or up, right? From what I
Yeah,
remember.
like you know those motorized rollable TVs.
Yep.
They're kind of the same thing.
And I remember seeing one like back when I went to a hospital. When I remember seeing one, but like it was only like at like one wing, if I remember. I don't really like remember much from that trip, but I remember like I played around with it like a lot as a kid.
What do you think was it?
I'm not really sure about TV, but all I do remember was that it was a rolling though. Like it was kind of like a projector. Am I right? Like it felt like a projector, but it wasn't. You know, like it felt like one of the screens for a projector, but not really.
Well, all right.
Come to think of it, it actually might just be a regular projector screen, and I'm not remembering right. So moving on, the Oppo X doesn't like the rolling screen isn't the only selling point about this thing, but I would guess also the camera. Like the camera quality on this thing is pretty good, I would say.
Pretty good. I mean, as long as it's serviceable, it's all right.
Yep, as long as it works, man. Right? You pick a car that runs over a Ferrari that breaks half the time.
I guess that's all we have
That's all.
for those quirky phones.
Yeah, sadly we don't have a lot to say about the Oppo X because it feels a little ambiguous, you know. I mean, it's just a little vague with this one. Like this feels like we have to know the right people to know more about the Oppo X. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's still a concept, so
Exactly.
we're still going to see it for like 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line.
Yep, definitely. All right, so moving on, Roy. What else do we have to do, like on the plate for today?
I guess we could talk about the peripherals.
Peripherals, the bread and butter of any user. All right. So, all right, Roy. So here's a little insight. So, to just keep the big words like in check and making sure our listeners can understand this.
Big words.
Peripherals are more or less the things that you use with your computer. Basically,
Just say accessories.
yeah, accessories, your input devices.
Input, output devices.
Yep, so these are your monitors, your keyboard, your mice, your headsets, your earphones, pretty much anything else. And I'm excited for this one because I really want to talk about keyboards. And not just any type of keyboards, but gaming keyboards versus general use keyboards. Because sometimes people can't tell the difference.
Clickety clackety. Is that keyboard a gaming keyboard?
Yep, clickety clackety. This is soon to be property, okay? So, the gaming keyboard I want to talk about first. So, again, the gaming keyboard, what makes it different from like your standard general use keyboard is, of course, it's a lot bigger. It's a lot noisier, that's for sure. And it's a lot less resistant. Like, there's less input delay because technically you're pressing the keys a lot easier and a lot faster. If I remember, the switches for it are a lot different as well. Since most gaming keyboards these days are, of course, mechanical. Anyone would like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would know that by now. But, for those of you who don't, now you know. Gaming keyboards these days, all of them are mostly mechanical, so that means like they use different types of switches that are more receptive, easier to press down, and of course they have a lot less latency than your general use keyboards. But the problem with gaming keyboards is they can get a lot noisy. Like that's the one problem. with them.
They're loud.
But the good thing,
If you're just alone in your room, it doesn't really matter. But I'm in a
Sure.
room where I share.
yep.
So when they're sleeping and I'm still working, that becomes a real problem. Which is why I'm still using that free keyboard that Gilmore gives you when you buy your PC there.
Yep.
That regular A4 Tech keyboard. Because
Hey.
it's really quiet.
Hey,
I have
if
to
it
commend
works,
it.
it works. Another thing about these types of sorry, bumped that. All right, all right. Another thing about these gaming keyboards that I really like is for the fact that they're a lot like again, there's less input latency, but they're also highly customizable. So, for example, if you want to customize your keycaps, you can do that. If you want to change out like your switches, you can do that. And that's a good thing about these keys. Like that's a good thing about like these gaming keyboards. You don't have to like, for example, if you buy like a keyboard from Razer or something, if it's really noisy, you can customize it with different like with a different like switch to make it a lot quieter. Because everyone knows the cherry or the blue switches are always the noisiest when it goes tick, 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 tick. And like imagine hearing that like if you're alone in your room, like you said, Roy, it's fine, but imagine like
Imagine
like
sharing a room.
Yeah, imagine sharing a room like, or it's 4 o'clock and you're watching Wheelie, for like 4 to 5 p.m. Spin to wheel for Shopee, and then you just hear tick, 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 tick. That's gonna ruin the experience, man. I want to listen to what the man has to say. All right.
Yeah.
And who knows, because of your incessant keyboard clicking, you might accidentally miss his call. So no 5,000 pesos for you, sadly.
Aww.
All right,
Rip.
so the one problem with these gaming keyboards is they're not really built for traditional type of ergonomics because most people who use gaming keyboards usually mostly use the left side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, primarily the WASD.
Yeah, the WASD keys, the WASD keys, because most of the time, I don't think they're gonna like gamers are. I want to try to using that word because it's the funny word. Gamers are not gonna be typing a whole lot unless you're a League of Legends player. Oops.
Oops.
Yeah. You're
No
not gonna
shade,
be
though.
typing. No shade, no shade. It's like it just you won't be typing a lot unless like you're using it for general use. And the one problem with these gaming keyboards is they're usually really bulky. You know what I mean? Like they're a lot bulky.
Yeah, if only there were like mechanical styled ones, but for typing, which I know exists.
Yep. And also like okay, so moving on from gaming keyboards, Roy, do you enjoy your ergonomics, Roy? Do you like type of keyboards that are way easier to use and feel more akin to traditional keyboards than, your usual gaming keyboards?
I mean, I don't use a gaming keyboard, but I would like a more ergonomic keyboard.
All right, then. I think Ducky, which of course is a specialist in making ergonomic general use keyboards, is the one for you. While yes, they do have a gaming line of keyboards, one of the things that Ducky advertises is that their brand is made specifically for typing. So if you're a programmer, a writer, a secretary, or whatever type heavy job you have, this is the brand for you because Like gaming keyboards, the Ducky offers a wide arrangement of general use mechanical keyboards that are ergonomic, so that means they feel good on your hands and they're really receptive. The one thing they have that I really like is that they tell you if the keys are noisy or not. So that means if you just want to feel, you want to hear the click and the clacks, you can buy a keyboard brand, like you can buy a type of Ducky keyboard that offers that, or just a regular keyboard like that doesn't have that at all. Like one of their keyboards that doesn't have any noise at all, which I really like. But most of the time,
the
they're-
quiet ones are a dream to have. Also, I just noticed something with
Yeah?
how you describe Ducky keyboards. It sounds like an ad, even though we're not even doing an ad.
yeah, we're not doing an ad. We're not sponsored. I'm just like telling you like the truth about this, like just what at least the experience
Yeah.
I've had with Ducky
Yeah,
keyboards.
it's a disclaimer, guys. It's a disclaimer.
Yep. So the good thing about these Ducky keyboards is, well, the one problem is these things are pricey. Like we're talking pricey.
How
You're
much?
paying
How much?
their cheapest one. Well, their cheapest one, which is like I'm not really. I don't really remember the type, but they can go upwards of 2-3K, so pretty standard for mechanical keyboard. But they can go upwards of 10K depending on which one you buy.
That's out of my budget.
Yep. But you're paying for the comfort and the performance these keyboards give you, because based on the reviews I've seen on like their online store, a lot of people say that, hey, this is really comfortable. It's made a difference. And there was a guy who had a severe type of carpal tunnel, like from using the mouse too much. He said that whenever he switched from like his mouse to his keyboard, it felt a lot more comfier than if he was using those budget keyboards that he had.
I'll probably maybe try to invest that on those types of keyboards, but not now. Not now.
And also, the good thing about Ducky keyboards, like at least Ducky mechanical keyboards for their general use, is that they have this tiny sink in the center of the keyboard, like this tiny, like what do you call it?
Dips a bit.
Yeah, it dips a bit.
doesn't
It's
it?
an indent, and that serves a purpose to make it so that your hands can reach the keys a lot easier. Which I always thought, it's just like an indent. It's just like a little dip. How does that make you reach the keys easier? And then like I had to try it out for myself, so I had to go look up a bunch of videos on it, and apparently they showed me that with your pinky, it's much easier for you to move up from like if your hand like your hand was, let's say, on the F key, it would be a lot easier for your pinky to reach the tilde key, which is like the key next to your one your one key, all the way up to your F1 key, which is I find cool, man. Like you can just press it with your pinky and you're good.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man, and it's a lot like it allows for more mobility. But I have no idea why you would use your pinky to press your F1 key. But hey, that's an option.
I mean, different strokes, so it's fine. It's fine.
All right, Roy, I'm gonna have to tell you that different strokes is just it has an innuendo there, right? But it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, but you actually brought that up, even though when it comes to keyboards, strokes is basically just on typing.
All right, that's definitely what I was talking about too. Definitely.
Definitely.
All right, nothing to see here. All right, so Roy, all of this talk of tech just brings us to a next point that I really want to talk about, Roy.
Which
What
is
What do you think that is?
what is it?
Well, since there's this new like tech coming out, especially for 2021, wouldn't that mean there would be a lot more excuses for people to justify upgrading what they currently have?
I mean, unless they have a good reason, because if you're just upgrading from last year's to this year's, then I don't seem to justify that.
Yeah, it's just usually like that type of mentality, like that. Well, again, everyone has their guilty pleasures, but that type of mentality could be somewhat like harmful or wasteful, in my opinion. But
I mean, unless you use it often enough, then
Yep.
it won't be wasteful. But other than that, yeah, it kind of is.
all right, so now we talk about Roy, what do we name this type of conundrum that like everyone suffers, where a new tech comes out and you're like, I know I've only had this phone for a year. I only know I had this for a year, but hey, it's an investment if I get the new thing this year.
It can't be impulsive, so it's probably just upgrade mentality.
Yeah, upgrade mentality. All right, so this is just a fun little phrase me and Roy came up when we were writing this episode, but more or less, our definition of upgrade mentality is you're more or less buying a new version of a new version of tech Even
Just
though
because
you,
it's new.
yeah, just because it's new, and like that's it. It's just new, and it offers like a small bit of like improvement on the old. Like that's basically like what upgrade mentality is. So more or less, you're spending like a lot of money on something that only offers a small bit of like performance boost, like as a tiny performance boost.
Yeah, like unless you're upgrading from years old hardware, you're not going to actually see much improvements.
Yeah, and you're not really gonna feel it unless you're really critical, like you're really receptive to that type of stuff. But knowing like, but I'm not like personally, I'm not. I don't notice it until it's actually a huge leap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Unless you're upgrading from like an 8 to 9 year old tech piece of tech to the latest one.
But
Yeah,
Roy,
you're going to notice it a lot if you do
but
that.
all right, but Roy, we need to talk about this. All right, the biggest culprits of upgrade mentality are two types of people, which is the first one are phone people, or like the people who really like phones, and the
Don't at
second,
me.
yep, and the second one are PC heads, the people who really like upgrading parts of their computer when a new one comes out. And there's a third category, audiophiles. Oh my god.
We're not throwing shade to anyone.
Yep. More or less everyone has their guilty pleasures, alright, Roy? So tell me,
Yeah.
as a person who really likes phones, can you tell me the mentality of someone who would like, let's say you have the funds, like say you have Mr. Beast visits the Philippines, alright? Alright, and he gives you this credit card that has like $1 million in it, not pesos, dollars, and he tells you, alright, you have one whole day to buy whatever you want, and like and like tomorrow he does the same thing, and this time you have a week to do it. So what, like, tell me your mentality of upgrade mentality, like what would you do with that?
Okay, so if we're talking about new things, I mean, let's say you want the best of the best. Okay,
Yep.
let's give an example. I have a P30.
Yep.
Now, that with the P40 and with the P50 coming this year, you would think, oh no, look at that. Those cameras though. There are now 5 of them instead of the 4. You would think, yeah, I'll just buy that, see what sticks.
Yep. So more or less, you feel pressured to buy it because it's the new thing, and you don't want to
Yeah,
feel
it's the
like
new thing. It's essentially a lot of people when it comes to cars, technically. Like,
Yep.
you could say that, I want to buy this new car, even though my old car is only 6 years old and it still functions perfectly, even with good maintenance. It's
Yep.
kind of the same thing.
Let me just buy this Toyota Camry real quick. All right. So your justification for this type of upgrade mentality, because again we need to make okay, so that the listeners can understand, is basically this new, like if you're a phone head, more or less you can just see that okay, your phone's pretty good, but when a new one comes out, even if it's just a minimal amount of improvement, you feel obliged, not really obliged and pressured to buy it because it's the new thing. It offers a lot more features, and it's mostly for the like boasting rights, not really, not boasting
Yeah,
rights, but
boast.
sort of the flex that you could say, oh, I have the newest and latest new toy.
Oh, wow. I mean, there will come a time where even you can't justify it anymore. I mean, I think there are more and more people that's doing that because before, I don't remember where. Wait, actually, a lot of news outlets in the US cited this. Before, it was 2 years. People upgraded it every 1 year, then it became 2 years. Now,
Yep.
it's approaching every 3 years, people will upgrade. So, this type of mentality is actually going down now.
Yep, that's a good thing. But hey, people have their guilty pleasures, as I said before, and my guilty pleasure, Roy, are PC parts.
Feeling
Alright.
pressured for the latest in graphics cards?
Yes, all right. I'm not even gonna lie about this. When I saw the 30 series come out, like when Nvidia announced that, I felt really hyped, and I felt pressured to buy it because all right, this old machine right here, Bessie, she runs on a 1050 Ti, and she gets the job done. But what would happen if I got a 3080 though? Like I always think that to myself, or because here's the thing, even if here's the thing, even if I were to get this graphics card, a new one would come out, and I would be like, oh no, now I gotta go get it again. Like, you know what I mean?
No, here's the thing.
Yeah.
you'd have to say to yourself, it's not that do you want it, but do you need it now?
Yep.
Because it will always there will always be improvements year by year. So so get this, I've got this iPad right here, an iPad 4th Gen. This replaced the iPad 4 that I had before, which was from 2012. So it would be like, should I get this now, knowing that there will be another iPad Air next year, which is this year, or just wait it out?
And also, sometimes like yeah, I'm just a sucker for like even the performance.
So you
boost.
you have to weigh it, because, for example, I'd want the latest and greatest, but then you kind of don't need the Pro. You could just stick to the Air, and it will service you for the next 8 years.
Yep.
So
And
that's
then-
what I went with. This will stick with me for the next 8 years.
Yeah, but what I'm saying here is it's not really just the pressure, but also like that little hint of like dopamine when you realize.
The want to,
Yeah, the little hint of dopamine when you realize, oh, my PC is just like 5% better than most people's. Oh, that feels so good. Even though,
I mean, I guess that's technically me when it comes to phones, but
And
since
also-
I'm not buying it,
also for PCs, it's so much harder, dude. Because you know how RGB's really eye-catching, like the way
Oh
they
my
designed these parts.
wow,
It's-
RGB everything.
Yeah, even if the performance isn't that good, if it has RGB, it's still eye-catching. Like, that would catch your attention if you were just walking down Mega Mall or something. It's so easy to just get lost in the red and the black, or the green and the blue. It's so easy to see, man.
Huy, boss, alika dito. Gusto mo magandang PC? Maangas to, Celeron.
Ayos.
RGB, Celeron.
Sir, pre-built to, promise.
Promise, ang angas.
Yep, and another thing that I find hilarious, like funny as well, is that aside from being eye-catching, it's the same thing with processors. Like, remember, back then, before, newer and better processors came out, the i7 was considered like the GOAT of any good PC, like gaming PC or general use PC. The i7 was so highly regarded that if you didn't have one, your PC was more or less not like considered one of the really top of the line ones. But now it's come like complete like with how far we've come. Now there are now 48 to almost like 50 core processors now. Well, basically,
There comes a time where it's all about diminishing returns.
actually, let me correct that. More or less, there's just more processors with a lot more cores nowadays. Like the type of like number of cores that would make even 12 threaded 12 threads look like small in comparison. If I remember, Ryzen even came out with their like Threadripper that has 128 threads as opposed to the puny 12 that we used to highly regard. Like, oh my god, dude.
I mean, technology iterates really fast. So
Yep.
just
So
just-
what? So
just get what you want now, get what you want or what you need now, than regret it later.
Yep.
Because
So
prices will only increase from here, so might as well just buy it now.
yep. And also the upgrade. So this brings us back to the upgrade mentality of someone who enjoys building PCs. Sometimes you just feel inclined to buy that new part because it performs a little better or just better in general. But we're gonna go back to what Roy said and say that it's not really that it's not enough that you should want it. You should also consider if it's worth it, because if it's just a 5% increase for a more expensive price, obviously that's not gonna be worth it.
Yeah, like for example, like coming back to the iPad example I gave. This iPad Air, 4th generation that I have, replaced the iPad 4 from 2012, which is a really huge leap. But if, say, this P30 that I have, I replaced it with a P40, it's just a marginal improvement. So why would you do it?
Exactly, dude.
Why would you do it? The P30 is still fine, and it still has Google Play services.
So why would you do it? All right, so I guess that does it. Yeah, that does it for this one. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed. All right, so that does it for the tech section. Now let's pass it off to AJ for the game section. AJ, take it away.
Thanks, boys. I'll handle the reins from here. So, guys, I wasn't able to record for the Christmas special, and I'm sorry due to personal reasons, but here I am. I'm #fighting. Anyways, let's talk about the video game releases for January 2021 and the analysis of the lore of League of Legends, which is very special and very close to my heart. Alright, first up with the January 2021 video game releases, we'll be having Ride 4 released on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X this 21st January, or last 21st January. We also have Bladed Fury released on the PS4, Xbox, and Switch last 22nd of January. Then we have Atelier Ryza 2, Lost Legends, and The Secret Fairy releases on the PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch on the 26th of January. Then we have Stronghold Warlords, which is a kind of mouthful for me to say, released on PC on the 26th of January. We have Cyber Shadow on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch on the 26th of January. We have Arnold Surge DX on the PC, Switch, and PS4 on 28th January. We also have Ciel No Surge DX for the PC, Switch, and PS4 also on 28th January, which is actually my birthday. And this is great because Disgaea is one of my favorite franchise. So Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny is going to be released for the PS4 and Switch this 28th January. Then Marching Forest Melon Forest Gift for PC, PS4, Switch on the 28th of January as well. The Medium for PC and Xbox on 28th January. Sword of the Necromancer released on the PS4, Xbox, and Switch and is also on 28th January, together with the Yakuza Remastered Collection for the PC and the Xbox. So we also have Buddy Mission Bond, which is for the Switch on the 29th of January. ReZero, Starting Life in Another World, The Prophecy of the Throne, are released for the PC, PS4, and Switch for the 29th of January. And lastly, we'll be having Gods Will Fall for the PC, PS4, Xbox, Switch, and the Stadia on the 29th of January. So that is for our video game releases for January. Probably I'll be talking about Disgaea 6 for the next episode since it's going to be released this January, and I'm really excited to see the first Disgaea to be in 3D because most of the franchise titles would show 2D character sprites in pixel art and whatnot. And we have Disgaea 4 and Disgaea 5 that are in low resolution types of graphics. Right. Let's proceed to the analysis of the lore of League of Legends. So League of Legends is a video game made by the Riot Games in 2009. It was first known to be League of Legends Clash of Fates and was later changed to the game title we know and love today. It is a game inspired by our childhood favorite, Warcraft, the Frozen Throne, and Defense of the Ancients, also known as Dota All-Stars. But we won't talk about the gameplay and the mechanics for today. I mean, it's going to be tiring to talk about the 150 plus characters we have at the moment. So League of Legends has been known to have the best cinematics, trailers, music videos, animations, and most especially its world building. The game has an overwhelming amount of stories and character arcs that seem to have no end. So I'm here to talk about what happened so far in the lore of League of Legends. Alright, so League of Legends has 11 factions or countries per se in their world called Runeterra. So in Runeterra, we have the Freylord, which is a harsh frozen land, something like the North Pole. Then we have Demacia, the military ground where magic isn't allowed, but is it really not allowed? And we'll find something about that later on. Then we have Noxus, a brutal expansionist empire. Piltover and Zon, which is the dual city states, wherein Piltover is advanced and finesse, unlike in Zon, wherein it's more of an industrialized third world-ish type of country. Then we have Ixtal, a perilous eastern jungle. It looks like our exotic jungles here in Mindanao. Then we have Shurima, a fallen desert empire. So this would look like our normal deserts like in the Middle East. Then we have Targon, which is a magical land, wherein the sprawling western mountains are seen. Then we have Bilgewater, in which is a port city without any types of law. And we have the Shadow Isles. Used to be the Blessed Isles, but right now it's called the Shadow Isles since it's shrouded by black mist. Then we have Bandle City. Bandle City is a mythical land of curious enchantment. It appears and disappears in the Runeterran map if you get to see the map of League of Legends in their website. Then lastly, we have our favorite country or faction named Ione. Ione is a place of magic, nature, and life. It is also known to be the first land in Runeterra. Alright, so we are done with that part. We have that settled. We have the settings settled. So what's the lore? Okay, in general, the lore of League of Legends started with the long war called the Rune War. But how about the how Runeterra was created? We could start with that. And the lore I'll be indicating and talking about today is from the League of Legends timeline from their wiki. And some of lore analysis is from Necrit and League of Legends universe page. And some of them are also my analysis, my own personal analysis and opinions regarding the lore. Right, let's get started because this is gonna be so long. Really long. Alright, let's start with the creation of Runeterra. So Runeterra used to be like Earth. Alright, it started with the nothingness. Then people believed that the Nagkaburos came to be. She's the elder god of Runeterra and only has one known faithful follower, in which is a character in the League of Legends franchise who names Lava. Then after Runeterra was formed by the goddess Nagkaburos, the multiverse and the omniverse came to be. Then the void comes in, together with the initial League of Legends Runeterra we have today. From there, we progress as the entities like the Watchers sprout out. Then we have Aurelion Sol together with Inviolus Vox and other cosmic entities started to form. Aurelion Sol from the stars and the constellations then breathed life onto them, making them the first Celestials. The Celestials are someone like Soraka, wherein they are higher beings, they have magic. And Runeterra was further formed by the Celestials using the world runes. With this, the magic in Runeterra began, and after its spirits and demons like Fiddlesticks, Evelyn was created. Then we have the creation of the terrestrial dragons, the creation of the Yordles. Then we have bandits. Yordles construct the terrestrial gateway system, gaining access to Runeterra, and going back to their magical dimension. And you have the formation of the continent of Valoran and the Ionian archipelago. Then from here, the Blessed Isles was formed, and now it's called Shadow Isles, but we'll get back to that later. Then civilizations formed. Then the first war emerged, called the Titan War. The Titan War forced the Ionians to harness the power of the spirit realm and became the first Vaistaya Shirei. Someone like the ascendants of the Vastyans we know today, which are Ari, Zaya, and Rahab. The war was won by the Vastaya Shirei, and they decided to live with their later less magical descendants known as the Vastaya in the eastern island of Ionia. So after the Titan War, there's another war that happened in Freylord. So in Freylord, there were three sisters, namely Serelda, Lysandra, and Avarosa. So these sisters had powers, alright? But Serelda lost her voice in the first twilight since she attempted to command the heavens, while Avarosa faced the twisting dark moon of the world and was deafened by its emptiness, waiting to consume all creation. And Lysandra was blinded by Volibear due to her attempt to stand against the wild magic of the mortal world itself. With this, Lysandra, also a champion in the League of Legends, dreamwalks with her blindness and manages to connect to the Watchers. The Watchers saw this and they thought it was an opportunity to invade Runeterra. And so, Lysandra, without her sister's knowledge, she made a deal on their behalf with the Watchers. They would grant them near immortality in exchange for preparing Runeterra for the coming of the Void. Alright, so we have the Void now. We'll be having the Void Wars. Alright, so the Void Wars are The Void Wars started in Ikathia. So Ikathia is a lost city that is near Shurima. So from here, there was a Void War that infected a lot of people. So this includes Mazahar, we have Kassadin, we have Kaisa, and of course we have Vel'Koz. But Vel'Koz is a void being, so he's one of those void people, void things that invaded Ikathia. This is also where Varus came to be. So there were three people that merged into one body to survive. Right? So in the Void War, a lot of things happened and a lot of people died. So the Void War was really something phenomenal, and it was the early days of League of Legends. It was when Vel'Koz was released actually. And afterwards, we have the fall of Shurima, since we know Ikathia is near Shurima. Next thing that really could happen is for the neighboring city or the neighboring country to have economical crisis. So we have the fall of Shurima, starting with the siege of Nashrame. Nashrame is a city in Shurima, right? So it got invaded by different people. We have and Renekton um, battled in this city, right? Then Azir was born afterwards. Then Xerath was also born afterwards. After the fall of Shurima and the fall of the Empire, regarding the attempted ascension of Azir, the Great Darkin War happened. Since the Shuriman Empire was gone, the Sun Disk had no power left, so darkness consumed Shurima. And the Darkins arrived. Darkins are like dark spirits. They're evil. So there's the existential threat of void. Then there's the clash of the Sunburns. The Sunburns are the people from Shurima. Then we have these Darkins. So they're having a war. Right? And I think as a writer myself, war is most often used to progress a story. It helps in the character development of the characters within the stories. People get to realize things, people get to grow through pain and suffering, alright? So, from here, a lot of problems arise without a leader. Without someone to lead a war, the war was lost. Right? So the gods saw this, the Celestials, the big guys like Aurelian Sol, the elders, the gods. So they called upon special people, in which they called this the event of the Twilight of the Gods. This is when they called upon the Ascended, quote unquote. These are special people, but we haven't seen any person who's ascended in the Champions of League of Legends. So I'll just mention some of you. We have Enakai, Sinfax, Zigantus, Zuyan, Shabaka, Shabak, Valiva, Sebutharu, and Naganeka. So these ascended tried to fight in the war, and also some of them managed to escape the war, but some of them also converted to becoming a human, since they've been tainted by actually harming another person. Right? So the Dorkin War was a really long war. It lasted from 2000 years ago to 550 years. 550 rather, BC. So I've said wars are something that could progress the plot. So after this war, we got to have the reign of the Iron Revenant. From here, the aspect of Twilight was chosen by the Celestials, by the people, no, not really people, but gods of Runeterra, because they've been noticing, oh, the world is so cruel. The fun isn't there anymore. The magic is getting used in different ways, in ways that we didn't mean to happen. So they had Zoe. Zoe was born in Mount Carbon, and she becomes the aspect of Twilight. So after she gets appointed, a lot of things happen in another area. Some sorcerers the Coven of the Sorcerers wanted to bring Son Uzal back from the dead. And right now he's known to be Mordekaiser. So sorcerers used him as a weapon in trivial wars. But instead of this thing helping him, he killed a lot of them, and magic was useless against this creature. So, from here, he changed his name into Mordekaiser, and he begins his Revenant Crusade. So he asks the Immortal Bastion to be constructed. So this Immortal Bastion is currently located in Noxus. And since Mordekaiser was strong and big, and magic was useless against him, he crushed and enslaved those. Who go against him, including higher Noxai mages who had renewed their study of ancient celestial magic. Then, since Mordekaiser was really curious about magic and how it doesn't really affect him, he discovered Vagar. So Vagar is from Bandle City. He is known, or he imagines himself as a master in celestial magic. Mordekaiser saw this, so he captured Vagar and threw him to the Immortal Bastion, preventing his escape to Bandle City and binding him to the physical plane. Then, while Mordekaiser was having his really dark reign in Runeterra, a bloodthirsty fiend haunted the coastal cliffs of eastern Valoran, demanding young lives and savage worship from the local tribes. Few were welcome in his lair, until the day a pale sorceress and Mrs. LeBlanc approached this with an offer, and the two feasted together as equals, weaving magic so dark that the wine at their table soured and the roses withered, and the Black Rose was formed. So, since the Black Rose was formed, the leader, LeBlanc, betrayed Mordekaiser. Alright? So, since he was betrayed, he was also defeated by the alliance of the Noxian tribes. And his soul returned to the Hall of Bones, where he amassed his power for centuries. Now, we have the current situation-ish, right? So currently we are tackling the Ruination. The Ruination is currently the theme or the lore getting dives in the League of Legends universe right now. So the Ruination is the time wherein Viego's empire or Viego's kingdom was turned into ruins. So how did this happen? So Viego uh, Vego was a young king. He wasn't expecting to be a king since he had a brother. His brother's supposed to be a king, but he died due to sickness, so Diego had to replace him. So he wasn't the best king, alright? But he loved this one girl named Isolde and actually forced her to marry him. So it wasn't really as healthy. So guys, consent is really important. Just because a cool guy in League of Legends does it, you're gonna do it too. No, don't do that. Consent is only something that we need to have. Alright? So going back to the story, Diego having his reign beginning. Since he can't govern properly, his allies were skeptical, leading to his enemies, his country's enemies, to strike. His general, Callista, we all know Callista, the spirit of vengeance, when she was in her human form, and she was human, she was Viego's general, and she already warned Viego regarding this. But Viego wanted Callista to do something else. He assigned her to look for a cure for his wife, since his wife was poisoned by a blade during some type of disaster. So Viego, desperate in saving his wife, spent all the money in the kingdom trying to save his love of his life. Very romantic. Yeah, it is. It was. Until Isolde, the queen, was brought to the Blessed Isles. It was said that Isolde arose a horrifying wraith of shadow and rage, and in her pain, her anger, her confusion at being ripped from them, she took Viego's own enchanted blade and thrust it into his heart. The magic of the waters and the ancient sword clashed. The chamber's energy erupted, tearing across the isles. With the barrier between the material and spirit realm shattered, the souls of the dead were trapped in eternal torment within the coiling black mist, and the newly dubbed Shadow Isles were abandoned by all right-thinking mortals. So this, my friends, or my listeners, was something that confuses a lot of people, even me. Like, why was Isolde resurrected as someone full of pain and misery when the blessed waters aren't intended to do that? From there, Viego actually doesn't know that his wife killed him. Right now, Viego is in his quest to find the remaining pieces of his wife. So let's fast forward to what's happening now, right? Since it's connected to the ruination, and that's what's important. I'm not planning on to saying all the lore one by one. So I just wanna make a recap and a few parts of analysis of the lore. So, alright, let's proceed to the current situation. So it's still not in the wiki, alright? But from all the research I've done, Diego is, as I said a while ago, is searching for the parts of his wife. We saw from the cinematic that Diego knows that a part of his wife's soul is in Senna's heart or Senna's body. I'm not so sure about that. But he got this. He got this part of him. And it seemed like he's not yet done. Despite him getting a part of his wife. So what I'm curious about is what will happen if he got all the parts of his wife and gets to learn that his own wife killed him and the reason for his missing heart. Because if you're going to check Diego's model right now, he has this triangle shape on his chest that shows that his heart has been ripped out by his wife. And that's why he has this attack named Heartbreaker, because his heart is broken. He thinks that his heart is broken is because his wife is gone and it's just his wife who's gonna solve his heartbreak of his. And it's very twisty, realizing that the writers of League of Legends has thought that his own wife that he loves so much is the one who actually killed him and causing him the pain he is feeling right now, So what do we have so far in the lore? That there were a lot of wars that happened in Runeterra. Runeterra started off as a peaceful world, then the first humanoids and humans came to be, and the war for power, for control on who gets to rule Runeterra started. And this is a type of plot used in several stories that we have. Bram Stoker's Dracula, where there's also a theme of war. We have our favorite Avengers, also having the theme of war between two worlds. We have Thor, the war between the frost giants and his own people. We also have famous conflicts between self, right? It's basically not war, but it's also conflict. People struggling within themselves on what to do. So conflict is one of many ways one could drive a story forward. It doesn't have to be gruesome war, bloodshed and all. There's mystery, like in Diego's story. There is a type of heartbreak that he doesn't really know the cause of it and is conflicted with himself, right? And conflicted with the reality that he's in because he's confused. So the lore so far, it becomes from political, it progresses to something emotional, which is very interesting for me. And I really like to share this with you guys, even though you don't play League of Legends, to check out their universe, because their storytelling, their cinematics, their world building, everything is tied in together in a way that you wouldn't feel lost, per se. I mean, you'll get lost reading the stories, the amount of stories there is, something you could wonder. But you won't get lost who is who, what is what's happening, or whatsoever. So far, I really love this part since sometimes, February is approaching as well. Sometimes in relationships, we forget that we're not the cause of our own heartbreak. Sometimes we are. And sometimes we forget that the people we're with are the people who hurt us, then we get to blame ourselves. Because that's what Diego is doing right now. He's blaming himself, forgetting that he did everything for his wife. And despite that, his wife killed him, you know? I would want that this lore progresses more, not just through development of Diego, but since Diego becomes a threat to the whole universe or Runeterra itself, he's a threat to Runeterra itself. I want to see how League of Legends would put all the countries or factions together to fight one common enemy. Since we have Demacia and Noxus having different beliefs. We have Demacia going against magic. We have Noxus saying magic is power. Then we have Bandle City just having fun with their magic. And I would like to see unity, because there's been a lot of wars that happened. So maybe there's a chance for Runeterra to unite. Maybe this is a moment for League of Legends where we see our favorite characters in the cinematic actually working together, not for the sake of a commercial or not for the sake of promotion, but for building a story in which could captivate not just League of Legends players like me, but creators, writers, and people who make OCs and develop worlds and inspire them to do something like it or do better than that, you know? So this talk has been really long. It's about an hour. I don't really talk about lores like this or game analysis like this. I just hope that after this podcast, you guys continue listening as well, because I would plan on doing more lore analysis, not just on League of Legends, but other video games as well, like Overwatch, Warcraft, Dota, and all those stories inside games that we've known and loved, alright? So thank you, and this is AJ. Thank you for listening to my lore analysis, and see you guys next time. Stay safe, gamers. Stay frosty.
And that does it for a 10th episode of Tech Talk. So, Roy, how would you say that went for the first episode of the year?
I'd say it went well. I mean, we can improve more, but overall, it went well.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
So, real good.
Yep. Anyway, here's to talking about more tech in the future episodes, man.
You too.
Yeah, amen to that. As always, we would like to thank Jared Hortaleza for giving the background music.
And before we go, how about a known quote? You know that saying, say goodbye to the old and hello to the new?
Mm-hmm.
We at Tech Talk are going to celebrate that and celebrate 2021 as the new year. So I think you guys, you listeners, should too.
Yep. Have some fun and be safe out there. We hope to see you guys in the next episode. This has been Tech Talk, and that's all we wrote.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.